I'm the director of EJEC since 2008, but I was involved since 2000, so 2 years after the creation. It means that I spent half of my life in geothermal already. Yeah. So what we do as EJEC, indeed, we help you to develop geothermal energy. So we are an association, we are a non-profit organization, we represent all the major companies in Europe, but all the companies, from SMEs to large companies, all the technologies. We have discussed different technologies to the ADS, EGS, closed loop, open loop. We represent all the technologies. You can see that when I just mentioned green energy, I mentioned green economy, because geothermal energy today is more than a source of energy. It's a source of local economic development. We supply heating, cooling, electricity, hot water, but we are also thermal underground storage, and a good milestone is that now we also supply minerals such as lithium. November 2023, for the first time in Germany, we supplied geothermal lithium. A good milestone for the future. So what we do as EJEC, indeed, we also try to map a bit as a market intelligence, what are the market trends and the technological trends. It's what I will try to report you briefly today, the market trends. So where we are today in Europe. So we have a bit less than 150 power plants. The first one was 100 years ago. It's not a new technology. We know how it works. We have about 400 geothermal district heating systems. You will see district heating we mentioned today mainly supply to cities, to buildings. The trend will be the supply to industry, agro-food industry, especially in the future. But when you see these numbers, you can compare the order of magnitude with geothermal heat pumps, 2.2 million. You could see that in the past, we were tend to speak about shallow and deep. We don't anymore speak about shallow and deep. Why? Because the shallow projects are deeper and deeper, and the deep projects are shallower and shallower. So it's what we see, the trends. It's a lot of different technologies going all together. And you can see here, country per country, what are the different district heating and electricity capacity as an overview. What is interesting is that indeed we are seeing today, and I see that because I remember I was in Bergen at GeoEnergy conference, and I think 3/4 of this audience was not there at that time. There's a lot of new players in the sector because we are living a momentum in the development of systems. So what we see from our market report is that you have more than 30 wells for electricity which are about to be drilled. 25 plants are under development. In heating and cooling, we have already about more than 1 wells which are about or are currently drilled or are about to be drilled in the near future. Indeed, we have a lot of projects in the pipeline. And what we see typically, we were mentioning to the doublet, it was the standard. What we see in the future is project portfolio approach with multiple wells and some extension with triplets. So we see also here larger capacity in the system developed. So just now going but more into details market per market. So geothermal heat pumps. What you can see that the leading countries are Germany, Sweden, Netherlands. But what is the trend is that we are going to more systems. So indeed, we every year, and this 2023 will also show a record number of sales in geothermal heat pumps. So more systems, but especially larger systems. The largest systems in Europe is 1,080 boreholes heat exchanger in Romania. So 1,000. We speak about really large systems, nearly 5th generation geothermal district heating systems with such application. On district heating, what I was mentioning, so we have about 400 systems in operation and 300 in the pipe. So it's about to double in the next 3 to 4 years with a lot of different systems. And you can see here what are the leading countries. In blue, it's the plants in operation, and in red, the plants that have already a license, have started some exploration, or have started some drilling. What is interesting is that we see that in all European countries. So more than 30 European countries have an activity on deep geothermal heating and cooling systems. Indeed, what is the trend of the system? So you can see that half of them are still at the planning phase, but on the 300 system, but a lot of them have started exploration, project development, drilling, construction are close to be developed. What I was mentioning that indeed, if the traditional systems for heating and cooling was to supply a district heating system. What you mentioned before, Naomi, 10 megawatt is the trend. Is the traditional geothermal heating system, 10 megawatt thermal, 10,000 inhabitants. It's what we see as a doublet, typically all over Europe. It's more or less the trend. What we see is that indeed larger systems, but also more supply to industry, greenhouses, and agri-food. So Netherlands is leading in greenhouses, but we see this trend increasing, especially with the need for more food security that we see today after the war in Ukraine and the inflation in this sector. But especially to industry, I think what we have to consider is that indeed more than half of the demand in industry for heating is less than 200 degrees. Okay? We have two options. We have already some systems like Rittershofen in Alsace, where we supply at 170 degrees of fertilizer. So for chemical industry, at high temperature, we can provide. But for many chemical industry, we can also do the preheating. The preheating at 80 degrees, at 100 degrees, and with the heat pumps to the high temperature heat pumps, we can also help them to reach the 200 degrees. And we see that as a big market for the future because the need for them to decarbonize and to have not only decarbonize, but to have a long-term security on the price of their heating is a key driver we see in the future. And we can mention some financial instruments to help them, but indeed, above all the district heating systems, industry will be a big market for the future. Speaking about what is the situation here, you can see the situation is quite diverse. You can also note that in Norway, we don't have yet this deep geothermal system, but hope to see it soon develop. From the 400 systems in Europe, you can see the different temperatures. The leading markets are Munich and Paris, where you have already 30 to 40 systems in operation, but you can see the development in the different locations in Europe. Some lessons learned. Today, the largest part of the temperature is in 60 to 80 degrees. We consider, it was mentioned before, that today in Europe you have more than 10,000, 15,000 district heating, mainly on high temperature. Not all of them, it was mentioned in presentation this morning, will be able to be converted because of the poor quality of the distribution systems already in the heating grids. But some of them will be able, especially because the key trend is the use of large heat pumps. So a lot of time, instead of changing the radiators and to do some infrastructure change in the buildings, we use large heat pumps to increase for delta T 10 degrees or 15 degrees with that. Another lessons learned is that today, probably, we have tapped for 40 years in the best reservoirs in Europe to start developing geothermal. So 400 systems developed in each country. In Netherlands, we have seen that. In France, we have seen that. In Germany, we have seen that. In Hungary, or we can consider brownfield. But the majority of the systems in the future will be in greenfield areas. So it means that we have to change also all the exploration phase we have to do. We have to invest much more in exploration than we have done in the past. Because to explore all the other territories, it will be more risky project. So we have to consider that. Advanced geothermal system could help, but it's not the silver bullet solution. We will have to think about new exploration systems and new drilling, also cheaper drilling and less risky project to develop these greenfield areas. About electricity, so just to give the picture of geothermal power in Europe, so we have more than 10 years of experience in developing systems. What is important in electricity is that we have mentioned some lifetime, but it's on fight. The oldest plant in Europe is operating only for about 40 years. It's still in operation. We have 4 plants from the 80s, 17 from the 90s, and 32 plants from the years 2000. So more than we have 50 plants that have more than 25 years lifetime. What we see is that indeed the time to develop a project is long, 5 to 7 years, and probably here we need to decrease this lead time because it's too long to develop project. So the 33 projects currently developed will not be alive before 2030. So it's to take into account. So from 150 plants today, we'll not reach 200 before 2030. Where are they located? Indeed, today they are mainly located, the electricity plants, in high temperature traditional fields, so in Iceland, in Tuscany, and in Turkey. What has been good during the last 5 years is the first power plant in Croatia and the first power plant in Hungary, so also on low temperature fields. But the challenge will be indeed to find some systems to go to low temperature fields. AGS is one solution. EGS was the innovation from the years 2000. Today, what is the of EGS is that we have 3 plants in operation and are really small capacity. We speak about less than 5 megawatt capacity, and there's no really more development of EGS except some in Sweden. AGS was mentioned. We have other ideas of innovation of advanced binary systems and other systems. What, for me, is a big surprise in market development is we have not seen a lot of combined heat and power plants, which probably today seems quite logical because with an electricity production using about 15% of heat content, we have a lot of capacity for combined heat and power, but indeed it has not been developed, probably because today the plants are located more where you have the best area for reaching high temperature for electricity production and not always close to the heat demand. So in terms of development, you can see that Turkey, if you know the story, is quite impressive because they have developed 1 gigawatt electric in 10 years. Italy was the leading country, but indeed, for now, there's little development, especially due to regulatory constraints. We see more development probably in the near future in Germany. But you can see all over Europe, there are several projects starting to develop also electricity production. So in terms of market trends, we also monitor technological trends. I all recommend you to look at this document. So it's not from EJEC, it's from the European Technology Engine platform called ETIP Geothermal. It was published in November 2023. You can find it online. It's more or less the agenda for the next 5 to 10 years in research and innovation. It's 2 to 3 years work of more than 500 researchers from research, academic, and industry. It's 200-page document listing all the potential areas for research development. On this session on oil and gas, I tried to map a bit what have been the different topics. So on resource assessment, on drilling subsurface, development, utilization management, and resource sustainable management. Indeed, here, it's a topic, I think there was some debate before on transition, about energy transition. Here, indeed, what we want is to introduce much more the concept of circularity, of sustainability, that needs to be also in the development of systems. So just to illustrate a bit what you can find in the research agenda, you can find, indeed, what are the research topics in drilling and subsurface. Indeed, we can transfer some oil and gas technologies, but there's still a lot to do for geothermal technologies which are not yet on the market, especially introducing robot or artificial intelligence, acid drilling technologies, optimize drilling fluids, materials for casing, high temperature, on closed loop, both on shallow and on deep. I think there's quite a lot of work, and on production pump, I think we are seeing developments constantly. So just to list for you what you can find in this research agenda. In terms of trends and features from oil and gas, I think, of course, there's some technical transfer. What is optimization of process? What I think today is the main barrier is the definition of business models and how the product development in oil and gas can be transferred in geothermal has been confusing for many people. What we see today in the business of developing geothermal systems is a decoupling of the business models. Indeed, today it's the system we have seen, for example, typically the model from Inargi, where you have a developer for the subsurface, which is not the same developer for the surface. It's not the same thing to find the resource than to sell the heating to a client. So it's what we see here as change in business models is really the decoupling between the subsurface business and the surface business. And on that, I'll just close my presentation with indeed what we are working on mainly as EGEC is also on financial instrument. So I was mentioning we need to de-risk project because we are going to more greenfield areas. So we need more exploration, we need more data. We are lacking data in Europe and that data should be more available. We need to develop the concept of project portfolio approach where we are going to larger projects to de-risk them because indeed more projects you have, less risky they are. And with that also we are developing some financial instruments like risk mitigation insurance scheme which are available also in many countries. And I think it's time for me to conclude.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Philip.
Okay.
It's really interesting to see what the possibilities and what you're doing from the European side. So, any questions? Yeah, Jill?
Okay.
Hi.
Thank you, great presentation. So I'm particularly interested in this perspective you put on the greenfield. That's really, really good to know. And my question is about, so in the past, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, the European calls have been mostly focused on reservoir characterization, resource characterization, which is obviously really, really important, but less on the drilling aspects. You foresee, and as you listed, and I know this document, which is amazing task that has been done by ETIP. They are listing some high priority topics on drilling technologies. Do you foresee that the European code? Do you agree with this status? And do you foresee that the European codes will maybe more reflect this need for reducing cost of drilling technologies in the codes themselves?
Two considerations. First, a European program like Horizon Europe will never fund a drilling a well. They will never do it. It's too risky and too capital intensive. So we may see, as we have seen in 2014, a call on developing low TRL drilling technologies. But they will never co-fund the drilling of a well. On exploration, just to report one thing, 2023 was a record year in the geothermal business on 3D seismic campaign. We have never seen as many 3D seismic campaigns than last year. So it means that the prospect for new developments in the future will be quite high, de-risking also this project.
Anders?
Could you please comment on the EU new geothermal strategy that came out just a month ago or so?
So it's not a strategy. It's the members of the European Parliament have adopted a report promoting geothermal energy with asking all countries in Europe, including also asking the European Commission to do more on geothermal energy. Some lessons that also they share is that indeed, today in research funding, geothermal has been one of the least energy technology funded in comparison with other technologies. I have nothing against hydrogen, but today we produce 1,000 times more energy than hydrogen, and we have received less than 1% of what we have received during the last 3 to 4 years. So indeed, there's a need to have more funding, including innovation funds, as mentioned before. So all kind of funding, low TRL, high TRL, and demonstration side. What is today indeed recognized in this report is first, it was impressive because it's one of the few reports in the European Parliament voted by all political parties. It means that from the Greens, the Communists, the Socialists, the Liberals, the Conservatives, or the people more nationalists, they are all in favor of geothermal energy. It was voted by everybody except two people. So there's a lot of consensus because today, indeed, we are seen as a source of local energy production. So part of the security of supply is really important today. Is one of the main topics, security of supply, and quite unique, producing heating, cooling, electricity. But we discussed quite a lot of today thermal energy storage. Thermal energy is probably the key enabler for any energy transition, energy system transition. You cannot do energy system transition without thermal storage. And producing minerals, we mentioned lithium. There's a lot of trams of lithium, but we see that there's a company, a mining company in Laggio in Italy, who's also planning to do potassium because also there are other minerals that you can extract from geothermal. So this quite unique source. Many people consider today we supply 1% of energy production. Maybe we cannot provide 50%, but just increasing by 10%, we reduce all the costs for the energy transition. And the Parliament is the call for Parliament is that we need to do more on geothermal energy because we enable the energy transition and we make it less costly.
Yeah, thank you. I see you covered the de-risking issue regarding developing this project, but what about what kind of business models do you think should be used for developing such projects?
We give you just some info. We are about to publish a report on business models in 1 month from now. Traditionally, there were two business models. The traditional one, especially for heating and cooling, it was the municipality developing the systems or the municipality giving to a private company developing the systems. Now we see a lot of different systems. We have seen in Germany several municipalities join together to contract the systems. We have seen greenhouses in Netherlands doing one or also together. We have seen a lot of decoupling, I will say, about the subsurface of the surface. We are seeing a lot of public-private partnership in the future. Also, public-private partnership, quite interesting, on 3D seismic activities. I mentioned we need more data. The state giving a subsidy to a company to do a 3D seismic campaign paid by the public. The data is used to develop a project, but after the developer has an obligation to give that to the legal survey to have a public domain data. So there's a lot of innovation we can find in PPP, public-private partnership, to develop also more projects.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I think we have to stop there. So give a hand to Philip again. Yeah. Yes.